In the last episode, I presented data about the support priority indicators that you see on a student's profile in Navigate. Navigate assigns each incoming student a support priority of low, moderate, high, or unknown to help faculty and staff predict which incoming students may benefit from a greater level of outreach and support than the supports that are naturally built into events such as orientation and instructor office hours. Navigate calculates priority levels using an algorithm that considers factors such as a student's home zip code or status as a first-generation college student. One of the things we know about Navigate support priority indicators is that, as a group, students who entered the university in the fall of 2025 with a moderate support priority level experienced poorer outcomes in terms of both academic standing and persistence to the spring semester than students who entered with either a high support priority indicator or a low support priority indicator. The fall to spring persistence rate, meaning the percentage of first-year students who returned for the spring semester, was 96.12% for students who entered with a high support priority, 92.48% for students who entered with a low support priority, and just 87.59% for students who entered with a moderate support priority. The percentage of students who earned good academic standing during their first semester showed a similar pattern, with 83.67% of students who entered with a low support priority earning good academic standing, 79.61% of students who entered with a high support priority earning good academic standing, and just 73.54% of students who entered with a moderate support priority earning good academic standing. These numbers suggest that students who enter with a moderate support priority level may find it more challenging to adapt to college than students who enter with a high support priority level. This is somewhat surprising, given that students who enter with a high support priority level are considered by Navigate's algorithm to require a higher level of outreach and support than other students, indicating that they are less likely than other students to be familiar with the ins and outs of success in college. Meanwhile, students who enter with a moderate support priority are considered to require a lower level of outreach and support than their counterparts in the high support group, indicating that these students are likely to be somewhat more familiar with the ins and outs of what it means to succeed in college. This seemingly backward situation reminds me of a phenomenon in language acquisition. Language learners frequently find it relatively easy to acquire grammatical structures that do not exist in the learner's home languages and are, therefore, completely unfamiliar. Meanwhile, learners often find it very difficult to acquire grammatical structures that are almost, but not quite, identical to structures in their home languages. First-year college students may find themselves in a similar situation. Those who are least familiar with the ins and outs of what it means to succeed in college may find it relatively easy to recognize that everything is unfamiliar and that they need to connect with supports which then can help them master new expectations and structures. On the other hand, students who are already somewhat familiar with the ins and outs of what it means to succeed in college may not notice the subtle ways in which expectations and structures differ from their understanding of college success. Because they may not notice the difference between their expectations and the reality they encounter in college, they may be less likely than their peers in the high support priority group to use services such as advising, the Tutoring Learning Center, and instructor office hours to help them learn the ins and outs of succeeding in college. Just as the language acquisition process may offer insights into the relative difficulty that students encounter in learning the ins and outs of succeeding in college, so may the language classroom offer a simple solution for helping students notice and learn how the expectations and structures of college differ from their own expectations and experiences. That solution is an error correction technique known as recasting. Recasting, as the name implies, recasts a student's ideas using language, gestures, and/or cultural norms that are more appropriate to the setting. For example, if you're facilitating a classroom discussion and a student contributes an idea that relies heavily on the use of imprecise language like stuff and things, you can use precise, technical language to repeat the idea back to the student. This act of recasting not only demonstrates to the student that you value their contribution to the class discussion, but also helps them notice the difference between the non-specific language they used and the specific technical language that you used. Studies from the field of language acquisition suggest that this opportunity for students to hear and notice the difference between the language they used and the language you used facilitates effective learning of the appropriate forms. While the benefits and applications of recasting in the language classroom are clear, the use of this strategy may be less intuitive in other settings. The article linked in the video description may help you generate ideas for using the technique of recasting in the settings where you work with students. If you would like more information on Navigate Support Priority Indicators or on the technique of recasting, please let me know. You can contact me at lorandal@uwsp.edu, at 715-346-2484, or in room 301D of the new Student Resource Center on the Stevens Point campus. Thanks for all you do to support student success.